Welcome to the capacity building session. My name is Marco and I'm a lead researcher in Tecnalia Research Center. And in this tutorial, I will guide you through the use of the SUSTRACK monitoring tool. This tutorial is the first part of a broader capacity building program we developed in SUSTRACK, which is structured in 3 different modules. The first one is about monitoring and identifying hotspots. In SUSTRACK, we developed a SUSTRACK monitoring tool in order to carry out quick hotspot identification across member states transitioning to the bioeconomy. The second part is focus on system thinking. System thinking provides a framework for understanding the interdependencies and feedback loops within the bioeconomy. Finally, the last module focuses on system dynamic. System dynamic is built on system thinking and it provides tools for dynamic modeling and simulation. All these 3 tutorials can be found within the SUSTRACK website. And today we will focus on monitoring and identifying hotspots. The first question we should ask when thinking about indicator is why monitoring the circular bio-based economy. So having a monitoring system in place provides several advantages. First of all, it ensures evidence-based policy making. Monitoring enables policymakers to track progress, identify gaps, and adjust national bioeconomy strategies in line with actual performance and evolving sustainability challenges. But a monitoring framework also promotes policy coherence and alignment. Systematic monitoring supports the integration of bioeconomy goals across sector and policy domain. And finally, it also enhances transparency and accountability. Monitoring fosters public trust and stakeholder engagement by making progress in the bio-based transition visible, measurable, and comparable across country and region. However, out of the 11 member states that have adopted a national bioeconomy strategy, only 6 have foreseen or have already in place a monitoring system for their bioeconomy as for 2024. This indicates that still, having a monitoring system in place is not that straightforward, and setting indicator for coherent policy making remains a research gap. In this context, we have to mention the initiative promoted by the European Commission to offer a comprehensive overview of European trends in indicators related to the European bioeconomy. This monitoring framework, which has been developed by the GRC, comprises a set of indicators organized according to a conceptual framework that allow for full coverage of the European bioeconomy, therefore informing on value chain steps, sustainability pillars, and primary production sector. The indicators may be browsed according also to the European bioeconomy strategy objective, the SDGs, or the European Green Deal priority. And it is constantly updated with new evidence and new indicators. In SUSTRACK, we try to exploit the information provided by the European Bioeconomy Framework to provide actionable knowledge, operational knowledge. That is why the European Bioeconomy Monitoring System, while very comprehensive in conceptual terms, it might be difficult to use by practitioner or policymaker because it doesn't address targeted assessment focused on a specific country and or key area. In addition, we tried in the SUSTRACK monitoring tool to also incorporate additional indicators that are not available in the European Bioeconomy Monitoring System. These data can be are from the Pharma Accountancy Data Network, for example, or the FAO. And finally, we also tried to relate existing indicator at the regional and product level. Therefore, we provide a place where a practitioner can find any type of indicator, not only informing on the national level, but also on the regional and product level. Let's start with a quick overview about the SUSTRACK monitoring and assessment framework. First of all, we developed the monitoring tool with the idea in mind to facilitate access to existing resources in terms of indicator, data, and method. The user can explore a curated repository of indicators designed for bioeconomy monitoring, and they can search for indicator using specific filter. For example, on implementation level, whether the indicator address regional, national, product level, sustainability dimension, whether they refer to environmental, economic, social pillar, contribution to SDGs, and finally, relation to the societal objective set out in the European Bioeconomy Strategy. The other support understanding of good management for the transition to a circular bioeconomy. And finally, we also aimed to further elicit the connection between indicator and SDGs, identifying whether we are talking about synergy or trade-off between different patterns. So in a nutshell, when we use the SUSTRACK monitoring tool, we might want to respond to answer to this policy question. How do countries perform across different dimensions of the circular bioeconomy? Where are the main strengths and weaknesses in a specific country? How does a country performance compare to European Union average or peer countries? And finally, which area require targeted policy intervention to accelerate the transition towards a sustainable circular bioeconomy? Below, you can find the links through which you can access the SUSTRACK monitoring tool. The tool is currently under development. We will finalize it by end of October 2025. So some feature and dataset might still change during this last final month. And all metadata, user guidance, and final functionality will be provided in the respective deliverable by the end of October. Okay, so as you can see, we organized the key management area in 4 main topics. The first one is sustainable management of resources, then increasing the contribution of bio-based renewable resources, bioeconomy competitiveness and jobs, and finally environmental performance of the bio-based economy. These 4 topics are aligned with the societal objective of the European Bioeconomy Strategy. Then user can select the country of interest in the drop box on the left side, and also the years of interest. Finally, by clicking Update, the tool will calculate or update the assessment results for the selected. Further methodological detail on indicator selection or how the benchmark analysis is carried out can be found in the respective button, indicator selection and methodology. So, if now we want to provide an example of the results that we will obtain in environmental performance of the bio-based economy, we just click on this specific and we'll obtain a spider chart where the score equal to 6, so the outer, let's say, circle is the best performance, whereas inner circle represent a lower performance. In the case of Spain, we can see that improved significantly in greenhouse gas emission from 2017 to 2022 in different sectors, including fishing and aquaculture, forestry and lodging, water exploitation, paper and paper products, and finally wood products. However, considering the European average as a benchmark, we see that Spain still have a great margin for improvement in the sector of paper and paper products and wood products, while it appears, on the other hand, to be one of the best practitioners in greenhouse gas emission related. So if we want to deepen in the textile sector, we might ask how relevant is the Spanish textile sector in the European Union. And we can see that Spain is the second biggest player in textile in Europe, just after Italy and followed by Germany and France. However, Spain is by far the most efficient in terms of greenhouse gas emission, so in managing environmental impact along with economic impact in the textile emission, So if you want to try to summarize the results from this very quick benchmark analysis, we might first of all say that from 2017 to 2022, Spain showed significant improvement in reducing greenhouse gas emissions in key bioeconomy related sectors: fishing and aquaculture, forestry and lodging, and water exploitation. These trends might suggest an effective sector-specific policies and practices that have contributed to decoupling growth from environmental impact in this area. Spain's performance in this sector could serve as a benchmark for other countries seeking similar results. However, when compared to the European average, Spain still exhibits substantial room for improvement in paper and paper product and food product. These sectors appear as hotspots in terms of environmental impact, suggesting inefficiency or lack of targeted mitigation strategies. Interestingly, Spain stands out as a top performer in the textile sector, recording the lowest greenhouse gas emission intensity in the European Union. This is particularly relevant given that Spain is the second largest textile producer in Europe, and it is by far the most efficient in terms of greenhouse gas emission per output in textile. Therefore, to conclude, some few takeaways and next steps. First of all, we should leverage best practices and comparative policy review results. In this case, Spain's achievement in the textile, agriculture, and fishing and aquaculture sector should be further investigated and disseminated. This is because it can support peer learning across a European Union country, especially for Italy, which lead the textile sector in size but not necessarily in environmental efficiency. This can highlight gap and opportunity for the harmonization and policy good practices diffusion. This is also very important because it enables the second step in the assessment process. For identifying hotspots like emission in wood and paper products, the use of tools such as causal loop diagram can support the understanding of the driver of environmental pressure in lagging sector. And this might help identify intervention points such as supply chain efficiency, demand side pressure, or regulatory gap. This is why I strongly suggest you to have a look to the other tutorial session which will take you through the use of system thinking and system dynamic to better understand driver of change and define tailored policy intervention.